Have you ever wondered why unhappiness keeps following you, even when life seems to give you everything you thought you wanted? Why is it that even after achieving success, finding love, or collecting beautiful memories, there's still a quiet emptiness inside, a restlessness that never truly fades? The truth is, most of us carry a secret burden. We hold on, we cling, we grasp at people, at moments, at emotions, as if we could freeze them in time and make them stay forever. We want the good to last endlessly, and we want the painful parts of life to disappear completely. But in chasing that impossible dream, we trap ourselves in a cycle of frustration and sorrow. The Buddha taught that suffering doesn't come from the outside world. It comes from within us, from the way our minds refuse to let go. We suffer not because life changes, but because we refuse to accept that it does. Think about it. Have you ever lost a friendship you thought would last forever? Maybe you held on tightly, tried everything to make it work, only to feel it slipping through your fingers. Or maybe you replayed old memories of a time when things felt brighter, happier, and you found yourself wishing you could rewind the clock. That pain wasn't just about the loss itself. It was about your inability to release it. We struggle with letting go because our minds are wired to cling. We attach ourselves to people who bring us joy, to possessions that give us a sense of identity, to situations that validate our worth. And when those things change, as they always do, we feel torn apart. It's as if a piece of ourselves is being ripped away. But here's the paradox. Everything we cling to is already slipping away moment by moment. That smile, that hug, that victory, even this very breath you're taking right now, it's already passing. Life is a river, constantly flowing, and yet we stand on the shore trying to stop the water with our bare hands. This is why unhappiness keeps showing up in our lives. It's not because we don't have enough, or because life is unfair. It's because we refuse to see life as it is. We want permanence in a world built on impermanence. We want certainty in a reality that thrives on change. Letting go feels terrifying because we believe that if we release our grip, we'll lose everything that makes life meaningful. But what if the opposite is true? What if letting go is the very key to discovering the freedom and peace we've been searching for? Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with rocks everywhere you go. At first, you tell yourself it's fine, you've gotten used to the weight. But over time, your shoulders ache, your back bends, and every step becomes harder. Someone finally tells you, you don't have to carry this. Yet your first instinct is to say, no, I can't let it go, it's mine. That's how we live. We hold on to our sorrows, our grudges, even our joys, afraid that letting go means losing a part of ourselves. But what if dropping that weight is what allows us to finally walk freely? This journey we're about to take together is not about denying life or rejecting our emotions. It's about learning how to embrace life without chaining ourselves to it. It's about discovering how to love deeply, yet without fear. How to experience joy fully, without demanding that it lasts forever. How to face pain with courage, without letting it define us. The Buddha's teachings are not abstract philosophy. They are practical tools for everyday living. And if you've ever felt the sting of heartbreak, the ache of loss, or the frustration of not being able to control your world, then these teachings are for you. So stay with me, because what we're about to explore could change not just the way you think about life, but the way you live it. The path of letting go is not a path of loss. It is a path of liberation. And once you take that first step, you may find that happiness was never far away. It was simply waiting for you to release your grip. One of the deepest frustrations in life comes from believing that we are in control, when in reality, so much of what surrounds us is not. We wake up every morning thinking we can bend the world to our will, that if we just work harder, plan better, or try more, everything will go our way. But then life surprises us. Someone lets us down, plans fall apart, or unexpected storms come crashing into our carefully built routines. And we're left asking, why is this happening to me? The truth is simple, though not always easy to accept. The world is not in your control. Think about it. Can you control what other people think about you? No matter how kind or genuine you are, someone will always misunderstand you. Can you control every situation in your future? You can prepare, you can hope, but you can't predict every twist of fate. Can you stop change from happening? The seasons turn, our bodies age, and time never pauses for anyone. This realization can feel overwhelming at first. If we can't control the people around us, if we can't control the circumstances of our lives, then what's left? Are we just powerless passengers, tossed around by the winds of fate? Here's where the Buddha's wisdom shines a light. While you cannot control the outside world, there is something far greater, far more powerful that you can command: your response. You can't stop someone from speaking harshly to you, but you can decide whether to meet them with anger or compassion. You can't prevent loss from entering your life, but you can choose whether that loss hardens your heart or deepens your understanding. You can't control the storm, but you can choose how you sail through it. This is where true freedom lies, not in controlling others, but in mastering ourselves. Let me share a simple story. A monk was once insulted by a passerby, called names, mocked, and ridiculed. Instead of reacting with fury, the monk simply bowed and continued walking. Later, a student asked, "Master, why didn't you respond?" The monk smiled and said, "If someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, who does it belong to?" The student answered, "To the one who offered it." The monk replied, "Exactly. Their anger remains with them, not with me." That is the essence of control. You cannot stop others from throwing stones of anger, but you can choose not to pick them up. Now, why does this matter so much for our happiness? Because when we live under the illusion that we can control everything outside of us, we set ourselves up for endless disappointment. Every time reality doesn't match our expectations, we suffer. But when we shift our focus inward, when we realize that our reactions, our attitudes, our inner choices are always ours to command, we stop fighting battles we can never win. This shift is like moving from trying to control the ocean to learning how to surf its waves. The waves will always come, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce. You can't control that, but you can train yourself to balance, to ride, to flow with them rather than drown beneath them. It is this art of response that turns life's challenges into opportunities for growth. A difficult boss can become your teacher of patience. A broken relationship can become the ground where compassion grows. A setback can become the doorway to resilience. And so, the question is not, how can I control the world? But rather, how can I respond to the world with wisdom and strength? Once you begin to live from this place, you will find a sense of power that no external force can take from you. The Buddha often reminded us that the mind is everything. What you think, you become. If your thoughts are rooted in clinging, fear, or control, then your life will feel heavy and painful. But if your thoughts are rooted in acceptance and wise response, your life will flow with peace, no matter what storms appear. So pause for a moment and reflect. Where in your life are you still trying to control the uncontrollable? Where are you demanding that people behave the way you want, or that circumstances bend to your desires? And how would your heart feel if you loosened that grip, if you shifted your energy toward controlling only your response? That shift is the beginning of true inner strength. That shift is what allows us to stop wrestling with reality and start dancing with it. And as we continue, we will see even more clearly why our minds hold on so tightly, and why it feels so impossible to let go, even when we know it's the only way to be free. If we accept that we can't control the outside world, the next question naturally arises. Why do we keep trying? Why does the mind cling so desperately to people, to moments, to feelings, as if holding tighter could stop them from slipping away? The answer lies in the very nature of the human mind. From the moment we are born, the mind is programmed to grasp. A baby clings to its mother's hand, not only for survival but for comfort, for a sense of safety. As we grow, that instinct transforms. We cling to toys, to friendships, to achievements, to ideas of who we are. It's as if our mind whispers, "If I hold on tightly enough, I'll never lose what I love and I'll never face what I fear." But reality doesn't bend to that whisper, and that is where suffering begins. The Buddha explained this truth with piercing clarity. Attachment, this clinging nature of the mind, is the root of all suffering. Whenever we suffer, if we look closely, we will see a thread of clinging beneath it. We suffer not because life is changing, but because we resist that change. Think of heartbreak. When someone leaves us, we feel crushed. But the pain is not only in the leaving, it is in the refusal of our heart to accept that the relationship has shifted, that the connection we cherished has transformed. We replay memories, imagine what could have been, hold on to words spoken long ago. Each thought is a hand grasping at smoke, and the tighter we try to hold, the more it slips through our fingers. Or imagine anger. Why does anger burn inside us long after the moment has passed? Because the mind clings to the insult, to the wound, to the idea that things should have been different. Instead of letting the moment dissolve, we feed it, we nurture it, and it grows into suffering. Even joy, when clung to, turns into pain. Think of a beautiful vacation. In the moment, you feel alive, free, filled with wonder. But once it's over, the mind starts grasping. I wish I could go back. I wish that feeling would last. And suddenly, the very memory of joy becomes the seed of sorrow. This is the trap of clinging. It promises safety but delivers suffering. The Buddha compared it to grasping a rope covered in thorns. At first, it feels like security. You're holding on, you're anchored. But the tighter you grip, the deeper the thorns cut into your hand. Letting go feels terrifying, but in truth, it's the only way to stop the bleeding. So why does the mind cling at all? It clings because it confuses permanence with safety. We believe that if something lasts forever, it will keep us whole. We think stability equals happiness, but the world is not built that way. The nature of all things is to arise, to exist for a time, and then to pass away. To demand permanence in a universe of impermanence is like demanding the waves of the ocean to stand still. There is also a subtler reason we cling: identity. We attach to people and experiences because they help define who we think we are. I am a successful person because I have this job. I am lovable because this person loves me. I am strong because I never cry. These identities feel solid, but they are built on shifting sand. When the job ends, when the relationship changes, when the mask slips, we feel like our very self is crumbling. And so, we cling even harder, terrified of losing who we believe ourselves to be. But what if we are not those attachments? What if our true self is something far deeper, something unshaken by the rise and fall of circumstances? The Buddha's teachings suggest exactly this, that underneath our grasping mind is a spacious awareness, a pure consciousness, a freedom that does not depend on clinging to anything at all. To begin touching that freedom, we must first see the clinging clearly. Not push it away, not judge it, but observe it. When you notice yourself replaying an argument again and again, ask gently, what am I holding on to? When you feel pain from the past, whisper to yourself, this is clinging. This is why I suffer. That awareness is the first crack in the prison walls. There's a story from Zen tradition that illustrates this perfectly. Two monks were traveling together and came across a woman who needed help crossing a river. One of the monks, without hesitation, carried her across. Hours later, as they walked in silence, the other monk finally burst out. Why did you carry that woman? We monks are not supposed to touch women. The first monk looked at him calmly and said, Brother, I set her down at the river's edge. Why are you still carrying her? This is the nature of clinging. We carry burdens long after they are gone, heavy in our minds, when in truth, we could have set them down hours, days, even years ago. So, ask yourself, what are you still carrying? A wound from childhood, a betrayal, a missed opportunity, or maybe even a dream you're afraid to let fade. Notice how the weight of that clinging shows up in your life, in your sleepless nights, in your restless thoughts, in the heaviness of your heart. The path to freedom begins here, with the recognition that clinging is not love, it is not safety, it is not strength. Clinging is simply the mind's habit, and like all habits, it can be unlearned. And as we begin to see this truth, we come closer to the next realization. Even when we know we should let go, even when we understand that clinging causes pain, the act of release still feels incredibly difficult. Why does it feel so impossible? That is the next step in our journey. Hurting, we whisper it to ourselves when the weight of life feels unbearable. But when it's our turn, when the pain is sitting in our own chest, letting go feels like asking the heart to stop beating. It feels unnatural, impossible, almost cruel. Why? Because the mind doesn't just hold on by accident. It clings because it believes holding on is survival. If you've ever lost someone you loved, you know that letting go doesn't just mean losing the person. It means facing the terrifying silence that comes after, the unknown of who you are without them. To let go feels like stepping into a void, and our minds are terrified of that void. Psychologists describe this as the illusion of permanence. We want life to stay still, to remain exactly as it was during our happiest moments. But life is movement, it is constant change, and the more we fight against that, the more we suffer. The Buddha taught that attachment is like grasping a burning coal. You think you're holding it for safety, but in truth, you're burning yourself alive. Yet here's the paradox. We know logically that holding on causes pain, and still our hearts resist release. We replay the conversations. We hold on to old photos. We return to memories as if revisiting them might somehow bring them back to life. This resistance isn't weakness, it's human. It's the way our minds are wired. Letting go feels impossible because it asks us to surrender the story we've been telling ourselves about who we are, what we deserve, and what we cannot live without. Think of the hand that refuses to open. The tighter the grip, the more the knuckles whiten, the more the muscles ache. And yet we still grip. Why? Because opening the hand means trust. It means believing that even without what we're clinging to, life still has something waiting for us. That trust doesn't come easily. It is the deepest challenge of the human spirit. And so, the impossibility of letting go isn't really about the object we cling to, whether it's a person, a dream, or a memory. The struggle lies within us, in the fear of emptiness, in the fear that once we let go, there will be nothing left. But what if that emptiness isn't a loss but an opening? What if letting go isn't falling but flying? This is why the challenge of letting go feels unbearable. It requires us to rewrite what it means to be safe, to be whole, to be alive. And while the mind resists, the heart waits quietly, knowing there is another way. As we explore further, let us look more deeply into this mysterious act, not as a failure to hold on, but as the beginning of freedom. There is one truth that no one can escape, no matter how tightly they cling, no matter how fiercely they resist: death. It comes to kings and beggars alike. It comes to lovers who promised forever. It comes to us and to everyone we hold dear. And in its quiet, unshakable presence, death becomes the greatest teacher of letting go. We spend our lives trying to build permanence, homes that will stand for generations, names carved into stone, memories captured in photos, words etched into books. Yet the body grows frail, possessions scatter, and even our most cherished stories fade with time. Death reminds us that no matter how fiercely we try to hold on, everything eventually slips from our grasp. This is not meant to terrify us, it is meant to awaken us. Because when we realize that nothing lasts, the question changes. Instead of asking, how can I make this last forever? We begin to ask, how can I love fully, knowing this is fleeting? In Buddhist teaching, death is not the end. It is the ultimate mirror. It reflects back to us the impermanence we spend our lives trying to ignore. And in that reflection, we find clarity. Think about it. The arguments we once held onto for years, the grudges we fed with our anger, the possessions we thought we couldn't live without, all of them lose their weight when placed beside the reality of death. If tomorrow were not promised, would you still waste today clinging to what no longer serves you? If this moment were your last, would you spend it holding on, or would you finally breathe, release, and live? Death is the final letting go, but it doesn't have to be the first time we practice. Every small surrender, a breath we release, a memory we loosen, a season we allow to pass, trains us for the moment when the greatest release will be asked of us. Instead of dreading it, we can learn from it. Instead of fearing it, we can let it guide us toward freedom. And perhaps this is the secret. Letting go isn't something we lose to, it's something we grow into. Death simply shows us what was true all along, that life was never ours to keep, only ours to experience. The inevitability of letting go is not a curse. It's a gift. It's the reminder that life is precious because it cannot be clutched forever. And once we embrace this truth, every sunrise feels brighter, every touch feels softer, and every moment becomes a miracle we no longer take for granted. When we leave this world, we do not take our wealth, our titles, or even our bodies with us. The house we built, the clothes we cherished, the treasures we guarded, all of them stay behind. What then follows us beyond death? According to the Buddha, it is not our possessions, but our karma, the imprint of our actions, words, and intentions, that becomes the true companion on the journey beyond this life. Karma is often misunderstood as punishment or reward, as if the universe were a judge keeping score. But in truth, karma is simply cause and effect. Every thought plants a seed, every word waters a future, every action shapes the soil of our destiny. And just like a farmer, we cannot harvest apples from seeds of thorns. Life reflects back to us what we sow, not as punishment, but as the natural unfolding of the choices we've made. When death comes, and it will, everything material falls away. But the energy of our intentions, the weight of our choices, the compassion we've given, and the harm we've caused, these remain. This is what we truly carry beyond this life. And this truth should not frighten us, it should empower us, because karma is not fixed. It is alive. It changes with every decision we make, with every moment we awaken to kindness instead of cruelty, presence instead of distraction, love instead of fear. Imagine a traveler setting out on a long journey. He cannot take the gold or the fine clothes from his home, but he can carry food, wisdom, and tools that will sustain him along the road. Karma is like that. The generosity you offer to a stranger, the forgiveness you grant to an enemy, the patience you cultivate in silence, all of these become provisions for the soul's journey. And here lies the deep connection between letting go and karma. We cling to things because we think they will define us, protect us, or follow us beyond the grave. But none of them will. The only thing that endures is the heart we shape in this life. When we understand this, letting go becomes easier, not because we lose, but because we gain clarity about what truly matters. Death, as the great teacher, shows us what falls away. Karma, as the silent witness, shows us what remains. Together, they remind us that our task in this life is not to grasp tighter, but to live with intention, to act with wisdom, to love with depth. And so, as we walk further into this journey of letting go, we discover that what we release with one hand, we carry forever in another. Not the things we owned, but the person we became. If karma is what we carry beyond this life, impermanence is the truth that shapes every moment of it. The Buddha taught that nothing in this universe stands still. Seasons change, rivers flow, bodies age, and even the mountains crumble with time. Yet, despite seeing change all around us, we resist it. We cling to youth, to relationships, to fleeting moments of joy, as if we could freeze them in time. But impermanence is not our enemy. It is the key to our freedom. Think for a moment. What would life be if nothing ever changed? If pain never ended, if grief never softened, if storms never cleared? Impermanence is not just the truth of loss, it is also the promise of renewal. Because everything changes, suffering too must pass. Because everything changes, healing is possible. The problem is not impermanence itself, but our refusal to accept it. Imagine holding tightly to a handful of sand. The harder you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Life is the same. The more we grasp, the more we suffer. But when we open our hand, when we accept that sand was never meant to be possessed, we discover peace. One of the most beautiful examples of this truth comes from the Japanese art of cherry blossom viewing. Each spring, people gather under the trees not because the blossoms last, but because they don't. Their beauty is magnified by their fragility. The petals remind us that life is precious precisely because it is fleeting. To see this, to live this way, is to touch freedom. Impermanence also teaches us humility. We often imagine our problems will last forever, that our grief will bury us, that our failures define us. But the truth is, everything is temporary. Just as joy passes, so too does sorrow. No storm, no matter how fierce, has ever stayed in the sky. And when we remember this, we stop identifying ourselves with passing states. We see them as clouds drifting across the vastness of the mind. There is a great relief in this. If nothing is permanent, not even our pain, then we are free to let go of fear. We are free to embrace the moment without clinging to what was or worrying about what will be. We can breathe deeply into the now, knowing that this too shall pass. Impermanence is not meant to sadden us. It is meant to awaken us. It tells us, do not waste this life in grasping. Do not postpone your joy for some imagined future. Live fully now, love fully now, because nothing is promised, and that is precisely what makes it sacred. To realize impermanence is to cut the chains of attachment. And when those chains fall away, the heart learns to fly. There is an ancient image used by the Buddha that cuts straight to the heart of our suffering. He compared clinging to anger, grief, or attachment to holding a red-hot iron ball in your bare hand. Think about it. The tighter you grip it, the more pain you feel. The heat sears your skin, the weight exhausts your arm, and yet still, you refuse to let go. Why? Because the mind whispers, "This is mine, I cannot release it." But here's the truth. The suffering doesn't come from the iron ball itself. It comes from holding it. The ball will always burn, that is its nature. The moment you open your hand, the pain is gone. The fire no longer belongs to you. In our daily lives, we carry countless iron balls. Old resentments, regrets from mistakes, bitterness toward those who wronged us, fear of losing what we love. Each one burns us silently, draining our joy, stealing our peace. We walk through life blistered, yet we convince ourselves that to let go would mean defeat, weakness, or loss. In reality, letting go is the only way to heal. Picture someone who cannot forgive a betrayal. Every day they replay the memory, feeding the flame. The other person has moved on, yet this wounded heart is still clutching the iron ball. Who suffers? Not the betrayer. It is the one who refuses to release. Forgiveness, then, is not about excusing others. It is about freeing ourselves from the burning grip of anger. The same is true with desires we cannot fulfill. When we hold on too tightly to expectations of people, of outcomes, of life itself, we are simply pressing the iron ball deeper into our flesh. The Buddha's wisdom is simple but profound. Suffering ends when we open our hand. This metaphor is not abstract. It is lived experience. Every one of us has felt the burn of clinging, and every one of us has tasted the relief of release. Think back to a time when you finally let go of something heavy, perhaps the anger at a friend, the weight of a failed dream, or the fear of an uncertain future. Do you remember the freedom? That is the cooling touch of liberation. The iron ball reminds us of a universal law. Suffering is optional. Pain will visit us, but clinging to pain is a choice. And in that choice lies our power. So ask yourself, what burning coal are you carrying today? What wound, what fear, what memory scorches you each time you touch it? Imagine loosening your grip. Imagine placing it down gently. Imagine how light your hand will feel once it is free. To live this way is not to run from life, but to embrace it more fully. Because with empty hands, we are ready to receive the present moment without being burned by the past. The teachings of impermanence and the metaphor of the hot iron ball are powerful, but wisdom without practice remains only theory. The question is, how do we actually let go in daily life? How do we move from understanding with the mind to living with the heart? The path is not about force. You cannot simply command yourself to stop clinging. Instead, you must cultivate conditions that make release natural, like opening a clenched fist once it finally realizes it's holding fire. The first step is awareness. You cannot release what you do not recognize. Begin by noticing what weighs on your heart. Is it resentment towards someone, fear about tomorrow, regret about yesterday? Write it down. Name it. Bringing these attachments into the light is the first act of freedom. The second step is acceptance. We often fight reality, wishing the past were different or the present more comfortable. But the Buddha taught that resistance multiplies suffering. Acceptance does not mean approval, it means seeing clearly. Yes, this happened. Yes, this hurts. When you stop denying, you create space for healing. The third step is reflection. Ask yourself, is this worth holding? Is the anger protecting me, or is it burning me? Is the expectation I cling to helping me, or is it crushing me? Like the hot iron ball, sometimes just recognizing the cost of holding on makes the hand open by itself. The fourth step is compassion, not only for others but for yourself. Forgive those who hurt you because their ignorance is their own prison. Forgive yourself because you too are human, learning, stumbling, growing. Compassion is the cool water that soothes the burn of attachment. The fifth step is practice in small things. Don't wait for great tragedies to test your letting go. Start with the everyday. When someone cuts you off in traffic, breathe and release. When plans change unexpectedly, smile and adapt. Each small act of release trains the heart for the larger releases life will demand. The sixth step is meditation. Sit quietly and watch your thoughts. See how they arise and dissolve like clouds. Notice how even emotions come and go. In this practice, you experience impermanence directly. You see that nothing must be grasped, because everything flows. And finally, the seventh step is gratitude. Shift your focus from what you lost to what you have. Gratitude transforms the heart from scarcity to abundance, making letting go not a sacrifice, but a liberation. Together, these steps form not a rigid formula, but a gentle path. Each moment of awareness, acceptance, reflection, compassion, practice, meditation, and gratitude loosens the grip of attachment. Slowly the hand opens. Slowly the burden lifts. And then one day you realize you are no longer holding the iron ball. Your hands are free, your heart is light, and you are ready to receive life as it truly is. From the very beginning of this journey, we've explored why letting go feels so difficult, how the mind clings, and how impermanence shapes every corner of our existence. We've looked at karma, the only thing we truly carry beyond this life, and we've felt the weight of the hot iron ball burning in our hands until we finally open them. We've practiced small steps of release, learning to breathe in awareness, to accept, to forgive, to be grateful. Now, we arrive at the heart of it all, living with freedom and peace. True freedom does not come from controlling the world. It comes from releasing the illusion that we ever could. True peace does not come from holding on to people, possessions, or even our own emotions. It comes from seeing them as passing clouds, floating across the vast sky of awareness. Imagine walking through life with open hands instead of clenched fists. Open hands can't grasp tightly, but they can receive freely. They can hold a flower without crushing it. They can give without fear of loss. They can wave goodbye without despair. This is the posture of the awakened heart. Letting go does not mean we stop loving. It means we love more deeply. Because when we no longer demand permanence from the impermanent, we allow people and moments to be what they truly are: fleeting, precious, alive. In this way, letting go transforms into profound appreciation. And here lies the paradox. When you stop clinging, you don't lose, you gain. You gain clarity because you are no longer blinded by attachment. You gain strength because your peace is no longer dependent on external conditions. And most of all, you gain freedom, the freedom to live this life fully, moment by moment, without being chained to yesterday or tomorrow. The Buddha's teaching is timeless, yet urgent. Everything changes, everything passes. Do not cling. Do not waste this brief, miraculous life holding on to burning coals. Instead, let your hands open. Let your heart breathe. Let life flow through you, not as something to be owned, but as something to be experienced with reverence and joy. And so, as you step out of this reflection and back into your own life, carry this truth with you. Peace is not somewhere else, waiting to be found. It is here, right now, in the act of letting go. Freedom is not a distant prize. It is the natural state of a heart unburdened. Live with open hands, live with a free heart, live with the deep, unshakable peace that comes when you finally learn to let go. If these words touched your heart, if they brought you even a moment of peace or clarity, I invite you to stay connected with us here at Zen Buddhism Wisdom. Subscribe to the channel so these gentle reminders of mindfulness and compassion can continue to find their way into your daily life. And if you feel someone you love might be carrying their own hot iron ball, share this video with them. A single insight, a single reminder, can sometimes change the way we experience suffering. May you walk lightly, may you breathe deeply, and may you always remember, true freedom begins the moment you let go.